Hello friends, today I am your storyteller. I hope you will enjoy this story. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that we can receive your love and support. Now let's begin the story. I never liked McDonald's at night. Even as a kid, there was something about the place that unsettled me. The way the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, humming like dying insects, or how the bright red and yellow colors felt too artificial, too loud, like masks trying to hide something rotten underneath. My name is Ethan Walker, and in the fall of 2004, I was 12 years old, stuck in that awkward stage where toys felt childish, but the teenage world still felt just out of reach. I grew up in Millfield, Indiana, a small Rust Belt town that had been shrinking for years. The old paper mill shut down when I was 9, and after that, you could almost feel the town exhale and deflate. Storefronts went dark. Neighbors moved away, but the fast food joints stayed open, glowing like little neon islands in the darkness. For my mom, Caroline Walker, McDonald's wasn't just a restaurant, it was a lifeline. She worked double shifts as a CNA at the county nursing home, barely scraping by. Nights when exhaustion pressed down on her like a weight, she didn't have the strength to cook. That's when the Golden Arches became our kitchen. A Big Mac for her, 2 cheeseburgers for me. I didn't like the food much. It always tasted greasy, lukewarm, and sad. But it was warm food and it meant we were together. Back then, that was enough. That night, October 17th, 2004, I still remember the smell of damp leaves clinging to the air. The heater in Mom's rusty Dodge barely worked, so we rode in silence, shivering, until the Arches finally came into view at the corner of Pine and Jefferson. "Sorry, buddy," Mom said, brushing a strand of damp hair from her face. Her eyes looked bruised with exhaustion. "I know you're probably sick of this place, but it's this, or the freezer. At least the freezer doesn't taste like cardboard," I muttered. Her laugh was soft, but it was real. "Smart mouth. Come on, get your shoes on. We're not doing the drive-thru. I need to sit for 10 minutes without moving." Inside, the air conditioning blasted like it was still summer. The booths were a faded red, the tables scratched and sticky. The floor had that faint, permanent grease film you only notice when your shoes squeak. The play place loomed in the corner, a big glass box filled with plastic tunnels and a ball pit that smelled faintly of sweat and socks. When I was younger, it had seemed magical. By 12, it just felt claustrophobic. Mom slid into a booth sipping her coffee. She always insisted we eat inside, said it made her feel like we were a normal family, not just 2 people trying to keep their heads above water. "You can play if you want," she said. I shook my head, but eventually boredom got the better of me. I climbed the sticky steps into the tubes, the plastic groaning under my weight. At the top, I pressed my face to the foggy round window overlooking the parking lot. That's when I saw him. At first I thought it was a trick of the reflection, but no, the figure was real, standing just beyond the glow of the last streetlight. A man in a Ronald McDonald costume, but not the cheerful, polished version you'd see in commercials. His yellow jumpsuit was stained, the red stripes faded almost brown. The wig looked stringy, like matted yarn, and the makeup, it was smeared, cracked, like dried paint left out in the rain. He didn't move, just stared up at me with his head tilted. Then slowly he raised a hand and waved. My stomach dropped. I bolted back through the tubes, shot down the slide, and ran to Mom. "Mom," I whispered, tugging her sleeve. "There's some guy outside, dressed like Ronald." He was watching the play place. She frowned, her exhaustion cutting through any worry. "Probably some teenager screwing around. Don't make a scene, Ethan. Sit down and eat." But when I looked again, he was gone. I tried to shake it off. A prank, my imagination. But the image clung to me, like grease you can't wash off. A week later, Mom was working late and left me a 20 on the counter. "Get yourself dinner. Don't stay up past midnight." I walked to McDonald's alone. It was nearly empty. Just a couple of teens scrolling on their flip phones. A manager half asleep at the counter. I ordered fries and a double cheeseburger. Sat by the window. Told myself everything was fine. That's when I noticed it. A folded slip of paper tucked under my wrapper. I thought it was a receipt, but when I unfolded it, my chest tightened. In shaky, childlike handwriting, it read, Come play with me, Ethan. I saw you in the tunnels. I can show you how to make fire. The fries slipped from my hand. I whipped around. The teens were gone. The counter was empty. Then I heard it, a giggle, high-pitched, coming from the play place. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but curiosity, that stupid, reckless spark, pulled me forward. The play place was dark. The overhead lights flickered, then buzzed out. I climbed the steps, each footstep echoing inside the hollow tubes. "Ethan," a voice whispered. I froze. My heart pounded. The whisper came again, closer this time. "It's warm in here. Come down. I can show you the fire." I crawled faster, panic clawing at my throat until I reached the top window again. Below, in the ball pit, half submerged, was the clown. His makeup cracked and bleeding at the edges. His smile stretched too wide. "Come down, Ethan," he whispered. "It's warmer here." "You'll see." I scrambled backward. His hands shot up, impossibly fast, grabbing my ankle. His fingers were cold, rubbery, too strong. I kicked, screamed, tore myself free, and slid down the tunnel, crashing onto the sticky tile. When I looked back, the play place was empty, silent. I ran outside shaking and used the payphone to call 911. The police came, searched everything. No clown, no note, nothing. They said it was a prank, told me to stop watching scary movies. Mom showed up, furious and scared, pulling me into her arms. "You're safe," she whispered. "You're safe now." But she didn't believe me, not really. A week later, the play place was vandalized. The word "burn" melted into the plastic above the ball pit. The manager admitted, quietly off the record, that other kids had reported a clown near fast food joints in neighboring towns. Always lurking, always watching, but no one ever caught him. We never went back. It's been 2 decades. I'm 32 now, living in Indianapolis, far from Millfield. I've built a life, a job, an apartment. But sometimes, driving late at night, I pass a McDonald's and the glow of the play place catches my eye. Sometimes, just for a moment, I see him. That faded clown suit, that crooked smile. And when the night is quiet, I swear I still hear the whisper. "I can show you the fire, Ethan." Story 2. I never thought I'd end up back in Brookhaven, Indiana. That's the honest truth. Growing up, I used to tell myself every single night that once I graduated, I'd get as far away from this dead-end town as I could. Brookhaven wasn't dangerous. It was just suffocating. Small-town life where everyone knew your name, your business, and your family history. Same brick buildings downtown, same cornfields on the outskirts, same 2-lane roads that looked identical no matter which way you drove. But life doesn't really care what you swear to yourself when you're 17. In 2019, after college in Chicago, I came back. Not because I wanted to, but because my dad had a stroke and someone had to help. My mom worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, and my younger sister had moved out already, trying to make her own life in Indianapolis. So it was me, back in my childhood bedroom, the one with the peeling wallpaper and faint smell of mildew from a leak that was never fixed. The same window I used to stare out of as a kid, promising myself I wouldn't rot here like everyone else. At first, I told myself it was temporary. I picked up night shifts at the distribution warehouse outside town. It wasn't glamorous. Loading pallets, sweating through my clothes, my back aching every night. But it paid just enough, and it kept me out of the house during the hours when my dad's silence and my mom's tired sighs were too heavy to sit in. The only real light in those nights was my best friend, Eric Nolan. Eric and I had known each other since middle school detention, when we both got caught carving horror movie monsters into our desks. We bonded instantly over that, and through the years, no matter what else changed, Eric was always there. He was the kind of guy who never quite grew up. Loud, reckless, always cracking jokes, always pushing boundaries. He could make the dullest night feel like an adventure, but he also carried shadows. His dad had been a mean drunk, and Eric spent his teenage years either trying to fight him or escape him. That left a mark. He drank too much himself, and sometimes that darkness would spill out when you least expected it. Still, he was my brother, my person. And Brookhaven nights didn't feel half as bleak when he was around. There weren't many places to go in our town once the sun went down. The bars were the same old dives, the gas stations were just fluorescent-lit pit stops, and the bowling alley closed at 10. But there was one place that never closed, one place that became our hangout spot, whether we liked it or not. The McDonald's on Brookhaven Parkway. It wasn't much to look at: squat brick building, yellow paint peeling drive-through speaker that crackled like it was 40 years old. But it was open 24 hours, and in a town where nothing else was that mattered. We ended almost every warehouse shift there, collapsing onto the benches outside with greasy bags of food. Sometimes we laughed until our stomachs hurt. Other times we sat in silence, staring at the glowing arches like they were the last lighthouse in a dark sea. And then there was the statue. Our McDonald's still had one of those old Ronald McDonald benches from the 90s. You don't see them much anymore, but ours clung to it like some relic. Ronald, plastic and faded, bolted to the bench with one arm stretched out like he was inviting you to sit beside him. His smile was painted wide, but his eyes, God, those eyes, were the kind that never looked right. In the daytime, it was goofy. At night, under the flickering parking lot lights, it felt wrong, too human, too patient. I always avoided it, but Eric loved it. Every time he got drunk, he'd plop down in Ronald's lap and call it his clown throne. He'd throw his arm around the plastic shoulder and laugh like it was the funniest thing in the world. That's where the story really begins. A Thursday night. The air was cold enough that our breath fogged in front of us as we stumbled out of the warehouse. Eric had been worse than usual. He'd started drinking on break, a flask hidden in his locker, and by the time we clocked out at midnight, he was already unsteady. "Let's hit the clown," he grinned, his voice slurred. "Man, I need fries in my veins." I rolled my eyes. "You're gonna get us banned one of these nights." "Nah," he said, bumping my shoulder as we walked down the empty road. "Claire loves me." He meant Claire Donovan, the night manager. She'd gone to high school with us and still worked the late shift at McDonald's. She always rolled her eyes at Eric, but she never turned us away, no matter how obnoxious he got. Brookhaven Parkway was deserted. Just the buzz of streetlights, the faint hum of traffic from the interstate, and the glow of those golden arches in the distance. When we pushed open the glass doors, the place was almost empty. Just an old man in the corner sipping coffee, and Claire behind the counter scrolling on her phone. "You again," she said, smirking when she saw us. "The usual." "Double quarter pounder, no pickles," I said. Eric leaned on the counter, grinning wide. "Big Mac, large fries, Coke, no ice." "Can't water down the magic," Claire shook her head. "You're a disaster." But she rang it up anyway. We grabbed our food and, of course, Eric wanted to sit outside. The bench, the clown throne. "Come on, man," I muttered. "It's freezing." "Tradition," he said, already pushing the door open. So I followed. We sat under the buzzing lot lights, wrappers crinkling, the smell of fries cutting through the cold. Eric climbed onto Ronald's lap, holding his burger like a chalice. "To the only woman who'll never leave me," he declared. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Something about the night felt off. The fog rolling in from the woods behind the parking lot hung thicker than usual, swallowing the edges of the lot. The air smelled stale, like something old left out too long. Eric stopped joking. He was staring at the statue now, not mocking it, just staring. "You ever notice," where he slurred, "how it looks at you? Like, no matter where you sit, it's watching." A chill ran through me. "You're drunk, man." But he didn't laugh. His face had gone pale in the harsh light. "I'm serious," he whispered. "It feels alive. Like it knows me." I forced a chuckle. "Yeah, it knows you're about to puke on it." But inside, something cold was crawling up my spine. Eric leaned closer, his forehead nearly touching Ronald's painted nose. His voice dropped low. "I'm tired. Wish I could just sleep forever, and then, God help me." I heard it. A voice, low, mocking, right behind me. "Be careful what you wish for." I froze, my head whipped around. The lot was empty, just fog and buzzing lights. "Eric," I hissed. "Did you hear that?" He blinked at me, dazed. "Hear what?" "You didn't?" My throat closed. "Never mind." I stood, heart hammering. "I'm going inside for napkins." He waved me off. "Go on, Mom." I stepped inside, trying to steady my breathing. But when I came back out, Everything was wrong. The bench was empty. Eric's food was spilled across the pavement. Fries scattered like pale fingers. And the statue, God, the statue, wasn't sitting anymore. It was standing, tall beside the bench, its painted head tilted toward the woods, and Eric was gone. "Eric!" I screamed, dropping the napkins. My legs moved before I could think, carrying me toward the tree line. The fog swallowed me whole. Somewhere in the dark came a sound, wet, crunching, like bone being chewed. And then a voice, not Eric's voice, but close, twisted, gurgling. "I just want to sleep." I don't remember much after that. Running, tripping, something slamming into me, then blackness. I woke up in the hospital the next morning. Concussion, scratches down my arms. The cops said I'd been found wandering Brookhaven Road, screaming about a clown. Eric was never found. They said he must have stumbled into the river. A week later, the McDonald's shut down. No explanation. The statue disappeared overnight. People whispered about vandalism, lawsuits, hush money, but nobody mentioned what I saw. Nobody believed me, except me. Because every time I close my eyes, I see that smile, that plastic grin, those eyes that weren't eyes at all. And sometimes when I'm driving home late, I catch a glimpse in the rearview mirror. A figure in faded yellow and red, grinning, waiting. Story 3, I never thought a minimum wage job would be the thing that almost killed me. Back then I was 24, broke, and stuck in a town that most people only pass through on their way to somewhere better. My name's Caleb Wright, and this story takes place in Ashford, Illinois, a small Midwestern town about 40 minutes outside of Bloomington. Ashford was the kind of place where nothing ever really happened. We had one high school, a few gas stations, a Walmart, and, sitting just off Interstate 74, a McDonald's that never closed. You know the type. Bright lights, buzzing neon, the golden arches towering above the parking lot like a beacon in the dark. That place was a landmark for truckers, night owls, and anyone unlucky enough to be awake at 3 in the morning with nowhere else to go. For me, McDonald's wasn't a pit stop. It was survival. Rent was overdue, my car payments were stacking up, and the only thing in my fridge was a half-empty bottle of ketchup. I'd tried community college once, but tuition buried me faster than the credits could add up. My dad left when I was 13, my mom remarried and moved to Tennessee, and I didn't have family nearby. Just me, scraping by in a one-bedroom apartment above a nail salon. The constant hum of their neon sign bleeding through my blinds at night. When McDonald's put up a flyer for overnight crew, starting at $11.50 an hour. I applied the same day. I figured, hell, it's just flipping burgers, mopping floors, maybe listening to drunks slur their orders. Nothing I couldn't handle. I had no idea what I was walking into. "Rule number 1, said Derek, the night manager, on my first shift. Never open the doors after midnight. I laughed, thinking he was joking. Isn't that against corporate policy? Aren't we supposed to be open 24/7? Derek's eyes didn't move. He was in his late 30s, heavy-set, with a beard he probably trimmed once a month and a permanent tired slump in his shoulders. "Drive-through only after midnight. Lock the lobby, don't argue, just do it." He tossed me an apron, already stained with grease, and walked me through the motions, stocking the freezer, running the fryer, bagging orders, cleaning the shake machine. The place was quiet, eerily so. Between 12 and 3 a.m., you might get a couple truckers or a drunk group rolling through, but otherwise it was just humming equipment and the faint smell of fries that never went away. The lobby lights stayed dim after midnight, like the place itself knew it was safer in shadows. The second night, I noticed Derek had this little spiral notebook he carried everywhere. Between orders, he'd sit in the back booth, scribbling something down. His eyes flicked to the cameras every few minutes. "You keeping score of fries?" I joked, trying to break the silence. He didn't laugh, didn't even look up. "Helps me remember things." "What things?" He tore a page from the notebook, crumpled it, shoved it in his pocket. "Just things." Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. A week later, I worked my first solo overnight. Derek had called out sick, and the only other employee on the schedule, a kid named Jamie, bailed last minute. That left me, alone, in the quiet hum of McDonald's at 2:30 in the morning. That's when I noticed it. The smell, not the normal grease and onion stink that clung to the place. This was different. Sour, metallic, like a mix of spoiled milk and raw blood. It filled the air so thick I gagged. I checked the trash bins, the grill, even the grease trap. Nothing. Everything was clean, but the smell clung, stronger near the walk-in freezer. And then I heard it. A whisper. Faint at first, like the hiss of the fryer, then clearer, coming from the vent above the prep station. Big Mac. Big Mac. Add another. I froze. My hands went cold. I told myself I was imagining it. Sleep deprivation. Stress. But then came the knock. The clock read 3:07 a.m. When the glass doors rattled, I knew they were locked. I checked them myself. Through the glass under the flickering parking lot light stood a clown. Not the birthday party kind. This one was tall. Too tall. His face wasn't painted. It was pale stretched, like the skin didn't fit right. Red streaks ran from the corners of his mouth, dripping down his chin. His eyes were dark holes, too deep to be human. He just stood there, watching me. My chest tightened. Not funny, I whispered, though my voice shook. Not funny, man. I glanced at the security monitor. My heart dropped. The cameras showed an empty parking lot. But when I looked back at the glass, the clown was still there, closer now. His hand pressed flat against the door, leaving a smear that looked too much like blood. Then came the voice, not outside, not through the glass, inside my head. Add the third patty, feed him, or feed yourself. The next morning after my shift, I confronted Derek. All right, man, what the hell's going on here? My voice cracked from lack of sleep. I saw someone. A clown. He was at the doors, but the cameras... Derek's face went pale. He shut the office door, lowered his voice. You didn't open the door, did you? No, I'm not stupid. He let out a breath. Good. That's rule number 2. Never open the doors, no matter what you see. What the hell is it? I demanded. He slid his notebook across the desk, pages filled with frantic notes and drawings. The same clown, over and over, scribbled in ink, scrawled words beneath it. Never after 3 a.m. Don't listen to him. It's not a man. It's not even a clown. Feed the town feeds them. My stomach twisted. This is insane. Derek's eyes locked on mine. You wanted this job, Caleb. Now you know the rules. It was late November when I broke the rule. A rush of drunk college kids had come through at 2:30, ordering 10 Big Macs and a mess of fries. I was scrambling to keep up. By the time the clock hit 3:05, I was exhausted, grease-stained, and half delirious. That's when the drive-through speaker crackled. Special order, the voice boomed. Deep, wet, hungry. I froze. Welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your triple Mac? The voice growled. 3 patties. Feed him, I dropped the headset. My hands shook. The fryer hissed to life on its own, bubbling though no one touched it. A tray slid out from the kitchen line by itself. On it sat a burger, 3 patties, and the middle one wasn't beef. It was too dark, too red. The smell of rot filled the room. Eat it, the voice slithered in my skull. Or be it. Something pulled me toward the walk-in freezer. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I had to prove it wasn't real. But what I saw, bodies, stripped, hung, skinned, ground down into meat, packed into unmarked boxes, stacked against the walls. The third patty. Every worker who broke the rule. I ran, dropped everything, bolted through the emergency exit, my lungs burning, my heart slamming against my ribs. I didn't stop until I reached the highway, headlights of passing trucks blinding me as I stumbled onto the shoulder. When the cops found me, I tried to explain. They laughed, said I was overtired. Maybe on something. McDonald's reopened the next night, like nothing happened. Derek disappeared a week later. His locker was empty. And me? I left Ashford, never looked back. Sometimes, late at night, I still smell it. That iron tang, that rot. And I hear the whisper, faint as static. Big Mac, add another triple patty. So if you ever find yourself in a McDonald's after midnight, check the clock. If it's past 3 a.m., don't order, don't look at the windows, and whatever you do, don't ask for the third patty, because once you see what's in the freezer, there's no going back. Story 4. I never thought a quick stop for fries would change the way I saw the world. Even now, whenever I pass by the glowing arches of a McDonald's, something in my chest tightens. My body reacts before my mind even has to, like it remembers. This happened almost 10 years ago, back when I was living in a little town called Riverside, Kentucky. At the time, I was 32, a single dad working long hours at a warehouse just outside of town. Life wasn't easy. Money was always tight, bills stacked higher than my paycheck, and my daughter Lily, who had just turned 12, was the only reason I kept pushing through. She was everything to me. Smart, funny, always asking questions about the world. She had this laugh that could cut through even the hardest days. We didn't have many luxuries, vacations, big shopping trips. Those weren't in the cards. But every once in a while, I'd try to give her little things that made her feel special. For us, McDonald's wasn't just about food, it was tradition. Friday nights after I got off work, sometimes Saturday evenings, if my paycheck stretched far enough, we'd drive to the McDonald's off Route 17, right before the highway. She loved their fries dipped in vanilla shake, and she'd save the little Happy Meal toys like treasures. For her, it meant, Dad isn't rushing, Dad is here. For me, it meant she's still a kid, and I want her to hold on to that as long as possible. That night, it was late October, cold enough that your breath hung in the air. I'd worked a double shift, 12 hours straight, and my whole body ached. When I walked into our little duplex, Lily was still awake, sitting at the table with her homework spread out. She looked up at me with this bright, expectant smile. "Guess what?" she said, practically bouncing in her seat. "What?" I asked, setting my lunchbox down. She slid a paper toward me, an English test. 97. Mrs. Grant said it was the highest grade in the class. I felt my chest swell with pride. "That's incredible, kiddo." "I'm proud of you." She tilted her head, biting her lip like she was holding back. "Do you think maybe McDonald's?" I was bone-tired. Every part of me wanted to collapse on the couch and not move until morning. But seeing her so hopeful, seeing that sparkle in her eyes, I couldn't say no. "Grab your coat," I said, forcing a smile. "Let's go." She squealed, darting to her room for her hoodie. The drive to McDonald's was about 15 minutes. Riverside wasn't a big place. 2 gas stations, 1 grocery store, a couple of churches, and that McDonald's out near the edge of town. It was the only place open past 10 p.m., besides the truck stop. Lily sat in the passenger seat, humming softly to the radio. About halfway there, she suddenly went quiet. "Dad?" she asked. "Yeah? Do you ever feel like someone's watching you?" Even when no one's around, her question caught me off guard. "Sometimes." "Why?" She shrugged, pulling her hood tighter around her face. "I don't know. Just feels like that a lot lately." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "It's just your imagination, kiddo." Nothing's out there, but I remember the way she stared out the window into the dark, like she didn't quite believe me. When we pulled into the parking lot, I noticed how empty it was. Just a couple of cars at the far end, under a flickering light post. The restaurant glowed too brightly against the night, that buzzing fluorescent hum that always made me uneasy. Inside, the place was almost deserted. A young couple sat by the window, sharing fries, and in the corner, a man in a trucker's cap nursed a black coffee. But it was the counter that drew my attention. The man behind the register wasn't what I expected. He wasn't a teenager or a 20-something like most of the crew. He looked older, mid-40s, maybe even 50. His uniform was wrinkled, visor sitting crooked on his head. His smile was stretched too wide, his teeth yellowed. "Welcome to McDonald's," he said in this odd sing-song tone. "What can I get for you tonight?" The way he dragged out that last word made my skin prickle. Lily froze beside me. She grabbed my sleeve. "Hey," I whispered. "What's wrong?" Her voice was barely audible. "That's him." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She shook her head quickly. "The man. From last time. He stared at me. The whole time, my stomach tightened. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried," she whispered, eyes darting toward the counter. "I told you I felt sick. I didn't want to come back." The man was still watching us, grin never faltering. His eyes flicked to Lily, and I felt a surge of anger rise in my chest. "Something special for the little princess tonight?" he asked. His tongue darted across his lips. I forced my voice to stay calm. "Just a #1 combo, a Happy Meal, and a vanilla shake." His fingers hovered over the register, moving deliberately, too slow. "Are you sure?" His grin widened. "We've got other things too. Off menu. Very special." Lily's grip on my arm tightened. "Just the order," I snapped. For a moment, his smile faltered. Then it returned, wider than before. "Coming right up." We sat in a booth near the back, as far from the counter as possible. Lily kept her hood up, eyes locked on the table. I tried to distract her, but she wouldn't talk. When our food was finally ready, he didn't call out the order number. Instead, he carried it over himself, setting the tray down with an exaggerated flourish. On the tray, besides the food I ordered, sat a red Happy Meal box. "I didn't order that," I said. He leaned closer. Too close. "It's for her." "A gift." "From me," Lily whimpered. "Take it back," I said firmly. But Lily tugged at my sleeve, whispering, "Dad, just go." Please, against my better judgment, I let it sit. He winked and sauntered back to the counter, humming to himself. Lily slowly opened the Happy Meal box. Inside wasn't food, no nuggets, no toy, just a folded piece of paper. My hands shook as I unfolded it. In messy handwriting it read, "Bring her to the back. I have games. She'll love them. No one will hear." I froze. My pulse hammered in my ears. Lily whispered, "Dad." I looked up. The man was behind the counter, rocking on his feet, staring at us, giggling under his breath. That was it. I grabbed the tray, stuffed everything into the bag, and hissed, "We're leaving." We practically ran to the car. My hands shook as I fumbled with the keys. That's when Lily gagged. "Dad, something's wrong." The smell hit me. Rancid, sour, like spoiled meat. I opened the bag. Inside the burger box wasn't food. It was something else, mushy, dark, unidentifiable, not edible. My stomach turned. Rage overtook fear. I stormed back inside. "Where's your manager?" I demanded, slamming the bag on the counter. A teenage worker looked panicked. Let me get her." Moments later, a tired-looking woman in her 50s came out. "What's going on?" I shoved the bag at her. "Open it." She did. The smell hit her too. She recoiled. "What the? Who made this?" Before she could finish, the man sauntered over. "I told them I'd make something special." "What the hell is wrong with you?" I snapped. He leaned close, whispering so only I could hear. "Nothing wrong with me. But maybe something wrong with you if you don't let her come play." I shoved him back. "Stay away from my daughter." He laughed, high-pitched and eerie. The manager grabbed his arm. "You're done, Tom. Get out." But instead of leaving, he grabbed the rotten burger and lunged at me, trying to shove it into my face. "Eat it," he hissed. "I made it for you." I shoved him off. Customers screamed. Employees rushed in. It took 3 people to drag him away, still laughing, still chanting, "Bring her to the back. Bring her to the back." The cops came within minutes. They arrested him, still grinning, still humming that creepy tune. We later found out his name was Thomas Hale. He'd bounced from town to town, taking jobs wherever he could. No background checks, no questions asked. He had a record: stalking, harassment, even charges that never stuck. Everywhere he went, people felt uneasy around him. But no one ever said anything. Lily never stepped foot in a McDonald's again. To this day, the smell of fries makes her stomach turn. And me? I learned something I wish I hadn't. Monsters don't just hide under beds or in nightmares. Sometimes they wear uniforms. Sometimes they stand behind a counter with a name tag and a smile. And you don't see them for what they are until it's almost too late. Story 5. I never used to think much about late-night food runs. To most people, it's just convenience. A quick way to fill your stomach after a long day. For me, it was survival. After 10 hours at Redline Logistics, Your body isn't just tired, it's wrecked. My arms ached from lifting pallets. My knees popped like fireworks every time I crouched, and my head still buzzed with the endless rhythm of forklifts beeping, boxes sliding, and supervisors barking out orders like we were machines, not people. By the time my shift ended, the idea of cooking anything at home was laughable. Food wasn't about taste anymore. It was about something hot, something salty, something fast. My name's Michael Lawson. I'm 32 years old. About 9 months ago, I moved to Ashford, Kentucky. Not because I wanted to, because I needed to. Back in Peoria, Illinois, I left behind a mess. A failed marriage that had ended in a screaming match across the kitchen table. A stack of unpaid bills that collectors hounded me about daily. A father I hadn't called in over a year. And a few friendships that had rotted under the weight of resentment and broken promises. Ashford isn't much. Just a small industrial town off Highway 19, 30 minutes north of the Tennessee border. But it gave me what I needed. A night shift that paid just enough to keep the rent covered and neighbors who minded their own business. In a way, I liked the anonymity. No one here knew me as the guy who screwed up his marriage. I was just another tired face clocking in at the warehouse. For the past several months, my nights followed the same rhythm. Clock out at 11:53 p.m. Management at Redline was weirdly precise, almost ritualistic about shift change. Walk across the cracked asphalt of the lot under the harsh yellow glow of sodium lamps. Slide into my beat-up 2009 Ford Focus and drive the lonely 21 miles back to my one-bedroom apartment on Maplewood Street. Sometimes, though, I'd stop for food. Ashford doesn't have much in the way of late-night options. There's a Waffle House at the edge of town, a truck stop diner where the coffee tastes like burnt rubber, and there used to be a McDonald's just past exit 14, the McDonald's on Highway 19. That place was my go-to for months. Greasy fries, a burger that was barely warm, maybe an apple pie if I had the extra couple bucks. It wasn't gourmet, but it was comfort. Then one day in late spring, word spread around the warehouse. The McDonald's had shut down. Supposedly, there'd been a robbery and corporate closed it afterward. I didn't think much of it. Business is close, life goes on. But then came the night of October 23rd. That evening, everything about my routine felt heavier. The shift dragged. My body hurt worse than usual. I'd skipped lunch, and by the time I clocked out, my stomach was a hollow knot. I told myself I'd just go home and microwave something. But halfway down Highway 19, hunger gnawed at me with sharp teeth. The kind that made your chest feel tight and your hands tremble slightly on the wheel. It was foggy. The kind of fog that swallows the road whole, where your headlights cut only 20 feet ahead and everything else looks like some vague gray ocean. Billboards appeared out of nowhere, glowing faintly, like ghosts. Even the massive fuel station signs along the interstate looked like pale smudges in the mist. Around mile marker 74, I saw it, a faint yellow glow through the fog, the golden arches. I blinked hard. What the hell? It didn't make sense. That McDonald's was closed. Everyone at Redline knew it. The parking lot had been roped off for months, weeds growing through the cracks in the pavement. But there it was, lit up like nothing had ever happened. My stomach growled, almost pleading. I told myself maybe corporate had reopened it quietly. Maybe someone had bought the franchise back. Hell, maybe I was just too out of the loop. I flicked on my blinker and pulled off. The lot was nearly empty. Just one vehicle sat crooked in the far corner. An old dark Chevy Suburban with no plates I could see. One of the overhead lamps flickered, buzzing like it was full of dying flies. Shadows stretched across the cracked pavement in jagged, unnatural shapes. The dining room looked dead, chairs stacked upside down on tables. No glow from the soda fountains, but the drive-through menu board hummed faintly, its light buzzing like a dying television. The pictures of burgers and fries looked faded, the colors bleached like they'd been sitting in the sun for years. I hesitated, fingers tapping the steering wheel. That's when the speaker crackled. "Welcome to McDonald's," a voice said. "Go ahead when you're ready." The sound jolted me. It wasn't just what was said, it was how it sounded. Too calm, too flat, no fryer hiss, no chatter, no background noise at all. just silence, with a voice laid over it like a thin plastic film. I swallowed. Yeah. Can I get a quarter pounder? No cheese. A pause, then. That will be ready. Please pull forward. Not your total is, not first window, not have a nice night. Just, that will be ready. Something in my chest tightened, but I eased forward anyway. The first window was dark. No glow of a register, no human silhouette, just grease smears catching the light of the flickering lot lamp. I waited. A minute. 2. Drummed my fingers on the steering wheel. Come on, man! Movement. A shadow shifted behind the glass. A man. But he wasn't in uniform. He wore all black, hood pulled low over his head. His face was buried in shadow, but I felt him staring. Not looking. Staring. Hey! I called, half nervous, half pissed. The figure ducked instantly, vanishing below the glass like a rat caught in light. My heart kicked hard in my ribs. I slammed the car into reverse, tires crunching on loose gravel as I backed up. That's when I saw it, the Suburban in the corner. It was running, headlights off, engine rumbling deep. Every instinct screamed at me. I threw the Focus into drive and tore out of the lot. Tires squealing so loud I didn't care if anyone heard. The ride home was a blur of white fog and red taillights. When I finally pulled into my apartment lot, I locked the door 3 times, checked the windows twice, sat in silence with my chest still hammering until the clock read 2:17 a.m. The next day at work, I told myself it had been exhaustion, that my brain had conjured shadows out of hunger and fatigue. But at lunch, curiosity got the better of me. Hey, I asked my coworker Derek, that McDonald's on Highway 19, you sure it's closed? He froze, half a fry hanging from his mouth. Yeah, closed in March. Place is condemned. No chance it reopened? He shook his head. Nah, man. They cut the power months ago. Some kids kept breaking in, so cops chained the doors. Why? I hesitated, then told him. About the glowing arches, about the voice on the speaker, the shadow at the window. Derek's face went pale. He leaned in, lowering his voice. Mike, people around here talk about that place. Say the speaker still comes on at night, even though there's no power. Some folks say if you pull through, you'll see someone at the window. Always a man in black. No one ever sees his face. My stomach turned. You're messing with me. He shook his head, deadly serious. I'm not. And you should stay the hell away from that exit. I laughed it off in front of him, pretended it was nothing. But that night, when I got home and checked my phone, my blood froze. Under recently visited, Google Maps showed McDonald's, Highway 19, and beside it, in green text, it said, open. Even now, weeks later, I won't drive that stretch of highway. I'll take the long way home, 20 extra minutes, just to avoid exit 14. But every so often, around midnight, I'll get a push notification on my phone. Hungry? McDonald's. Highway 19 is open late, and sometimes if I press the power button to make the screen go dark, I'll hear it, static like a drive-through speaker crackling to life. Story 6, I never thought a fast food job would change my life. At 17, I figured McDonald's would just be another notch in my string of crappy part-time gigs, mowing lawns, stocking shelves, washing dishes at the diner. Nothing special, nothing scary, just a paycheck. But looking back, I realize now that the summer I started working at the McDonald's off Highway 12 in Brookhaven, Illinois, was the summer everything I thought I knew about safe places began to unravel. I should start with why I even wanted the job. Home wasn't good. My parents were on the verge of splitting up. They argued about everything: money, bills, my dad's long hours at the factory, my mom's exhaustion from hospital shifts. Our house in Brookhaven wasn't big, but somehow it felt smaller when the yelling started. Walls don't block that kind of noise. You feel it in your chest. You hear it through your headphones, even when you've got music turned all the way up. So when summer came around, I wasn't looking for fun. I was looking for escape. That's what the McDonald's job gave me. It wasn't glamorous, $11.25 an hour, polyester uniform that smelled like fries no matter how many times you washed it. But it meant long nights away from home. Nights where I could breathe. nights where I could pretend life was normal. At first, it was almost boring in its routine. There was Nina, the grill cook. She was 19, snarky, always humming indie songs under her breath. We weren't friends exactly, but we got along. Then there was Derek, our so-called night manager, who spent most of his shift locked in the office scrolling TikTok and pretending he was supervising. On drive-through, it was usually me. Headset on, voice strained from trying to sound upbeat at 1 in the morning. And the customers, they were predictable, regulars. A middle-aged woman in scrubs who ordered a McFlurry every single night at 9:45 like clockwork. A group of stoners from the community college who bought nuggets in bulk, then sat in the lot for an hour giggling at nothing. An older truck driver named Cal who asked for more ketchup than you think a man could ever use, and always tipped $1. It was repetitive, safe, the kind of job you could do half asleep, until the night everything shifted. It was late June, a Friday night, the kind of night where the air feels heavy with heat even after dark. Nina was in the back mopping, Derek was busy in the office, and I was leaning against the counter, half dozing in my headset. Then I heard the low rumble of a car pulling into the drive-thru. I straightened, adjusted the mic. "Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you tonight?" Silence. Not unusual. Sometimes people fumble with the menu. I waited, tapping my fingers on the register. "Hello, you there?" That's when I heard it. A slow, deliberate breathing. Not nervous, not rushed, just steady. "Sir?" "Ma'am, can I take your order?" I tried again. Finally a voice. Low, calm, male. "Isaac Daniel Harper." I froze. My stomach dropped. That was my full name. Nobody called me that. At school I was just Isaac or Harper. My parents only used the full thing when I was in trouble. But here, how could anyone know that? Excuse me? "Do I know you?" I asked, forcing a laugh. Silence, then slower this time, like he wanted to carve each syllable into me. "Isaac Daniel Harper." My hands shook as I glanced at the monitor. The camera showed a car at the speaker box, a black sedan. Late 90s, maybe early 2000s. Its headlights flickered like a dying bulb. The windows? Tinted pitch black. "Okay, very funny. Who is this? Derek, is this one of your friends messing around?" My voice cracked. No answer, just breathing. Then, without ordering a single thing, the car rolled forward past the window. No screech of tires, just a smooth, deliberate glide into the night. I ripped off the headset, heart hammering. "What the hell's your problem?" Derek asked, finally emerging from the office. "Some guy. He knew my full name." At the speaker, Derek smirked. "Probably some kids from school screwing with you. Chill out." He went back to scrolling his phone, but it wasn't nothing. Nobody at school even knew I worked there yet. The next night, I wasn't on shift. My friends Tyler, Mason, and Jordan picked me up to hang out. We ended up in the McDonald's parking lot because Tyler's girlfriend was working inside. It was around 11, the lot mostly empty, just 2 cars tucked along the far side. That's when we saw him, a man pedaling into the lot on an old, rusted 3-wheeled bike. A speaker duct taped to the back blasted scratchy country music. His clothes were filthy, his beard patchy, his hair greasy and matted. He circled the lot once, twice, 10 times. At first we laughed. "Yo, it's Ronald McDonald's zombie cousin," Mason cracked. But by the 5th lap, the laughter died. The man wasn't laughing. He wasn't even looking at us. Until suddenly he was. He braked, killed the music, and stared straight at us. "You boys want to know something?" His voice was rough, broken. We exchanged uneasy looks. Sure," Jordan muttered. "I'm about to rob this place." The words landed like stones. Tyler forced a chuckle. "Yeah, okay, man." But the man didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. He just grinned, crooked and ugly. "If I were you," he said, "I'd leave." Then he pedaled off into the night. We sat there in silence. None of us knew if it was a joke. The next morning, Mason sent us a link in the group chat. "Local bank robbery suspect arrested." The mugshot was him. Same greasy hair, same face, same bike. 2 nights later, I was back at work. Midnight shift. The fryer hissed, the air thick with grease. Nina was stacking patties. Derek was, as usual, locked in the office. Then came the rumble. That same black sedan, but this time it didn't stop at the speaker. It rolled slowly, deliberately, straight to my window. My hands trembled as I slid it open. The man leaned forward. No sunglasses this time, just eyes. Flat, glassy, emotionless. And I knew him, Mr. Lawrence, my old neighbor, the man who used to babysit me when I was 8, the man who moved away after his wife disappeared under circumstances nobody in town talked about. "Isaac," he said softly, "you remember me, don't you?" I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. "I've been waiting," he whispered, and then he smiled. The headset crackled. Nina's voice shouted, "Isaac, are you okay?" I blinked, turned back. The car was gone. The lot was empty, but the smell of his cologne, the same bitter musk I remembered from childhood, lingered in the air. And that's when I knew. This wasn't a prank. It was personal, and it wasn't over. Story 7. I never planned on working at McDonald's again. Not after high school. Back then, it was just a summer gig. Something to keep gas in the tank and my parents off my back. I told myself I'd never go back to the smell of fryer oil that stuck in your hair, the constant beep of timers, or the way a McDouble wrapper crinkled just so in your hand. But in the summer of 2019, 2 years after dropping out of college, there I was again, 22 years old, broke, and back behind the counter at a McDonald's in Dover Springs, Ohio. A quiet, middle-of-nowhere town off I-71, about an hour south of Cleveland. It wasn't where I pictured myself at that age. My friends from high school had either moved away or graduated. Some were getting married, some were starting real careers. Me? I was scraping by on minimum wage, working nights, and renting a one-bedroom apartment with walls so thin I could hear my neighbor's dog breathing. I kept telling myself it was temporary. That word, temporary, was like a lifeline. I'd save some cash, maybe figure out trade school, maybe move to Columbus where something actually happened. But until then, I was stuck wearing a name tag that read Mark Thompson and a shirt that always smelled like fries. The night shift was the worst, not because of the work. Fewer customers actually made it easier, but because of the silence. After 11 p.m., the world outside felt like it belonged to someone else. The lights in the lobby buzzed too loudly, shadows stretched too long, and every little sound carried like it meant something. We'd get the usual mix: truckers, cops grabbing coffee, the occasional drunk college kids passing through. But sometimes, we get the kind of people you didn't want to look at for too long. That's how it started. It was July 12th, 2019, sticky hot even past midnight. The kind of heat that made your shirt stick to your back and the air feel heavy in your lungs. I was half asleep at the register when the door opened. He walked in. At first, nothing about him screamed trouble. Mid-40s, maybe older. Wore a washed-out gray hoodie, the hood up despite the heat, jeans stiff with dirt, and a faded baseball cap pulled low so I couldn't see his eyes. His steps were slow, too slow, like every movement was deliberate. "Evening," I said automatically. "What can I get you?" His voice was flat, almost mechanical. "1 Big Mac, large fries, Coke." "Sure thing," I said, punching it in. "That'll be $8.73. He slid a crumpled 10 across the counter. His hand brushed mine. It was cold. Too cold for someone in a hot restaurant. "Order number 147, I called, sliding him the receipt. But he didn't look at it. He didn't look at the menu either. He looked at me, just stared, his lips twitching into something that wasn't quite a smile. When the food was ready, I pushed the bag toward him. "Order 147. He didn't grab it right away. He leaned in, close enough for me to smell stale cigarettes and sweat soaked into that hoodie. "You charged me for 2 Big Macs." I frowned. No, sir. Just one." Look, I pointed at the receipt. 1 Big Mac, fries, Coke. His eyes didn't move. "You think I don't know what I ordered?" The words came out sharp, cutting. I forced a smile. "Maybe there was a mix-up. I can refund you if—" "Don't lie to me." The way he said it, low, like a warning, made my chest tighten. Before I could respond, my shift manager, Rachel, walked over. Problem here? The man didn't break eye contact with me. He charged me wrong. Tried to make me look stupid. Rachel's tone was firm. We'll fix it. No need to cause a scene. Finally, he grabbed the bag and muttered something under his breath before walking out. I let out a shaky breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Rachel gave me a look. You okay? Yeah, I lied. Weird guy. I thought that was it. Just another unpleasant customer. I was wrong. 2 nights later, around 1 a.m., I was on trash duty. Our McDonald's backed up into a narrow, dimly lit alley that always reeked of rotting food and old grease. I wheeled the bin out, trying not to gag at the smell. Halfway to the dumpster, I froze. Someone was standing at the far end of the alley. Gray hoodie, cap low, hands in pockets. Just watching. He didn't move, didn't speak. Just stood there. My grip tightened on the bin until my knuckles went white. After what felt like forever, I yanked the door open and rushed back inside, heart hammering. Rachel saw my face. What's wrong? Nothing, I lied again. Thought I saw someone. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. A couple of nights later, Maya, the girl working drive-thru, came running into the kitchen. Mark? There's some guy at the window asking for you. My stomach dropped. What? He didn't order anything. Just asked for you by name. Rachel's expression darkened. What did he look like? Maya hesitated. Older. Hoodie. Creepy vibe. Rachel told me to stay in the back. She went to check. When she came back, her jaw was tight. He left when I got there. I tried to shrug it off, but that night, sleep wouldn't come. 2 nights later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. When I listened, my blood ran cold. 5 seconds of silence. Then his flat voice whispered, Order number 147, ready for pickup. I dropped the phone. The cops didn't take it seriously. Unless he threatens you directly or touches you, there's not much we can do, the officer said. So I kept working, pretended everything was fine, until the night he came back. It was close to 2 a.m. when the door chimed. I didn't even have to look. I knew it was him. No hoodie this time, just the cap. Same stillness, same cold presence. He walked up to the counter. 1 Big Mac, he said softly. Then he leaned closer. No, maybe just half this time. My throat went dry. Rachel stepped forward. Sir, you need to leave. He ignored her, eyes locked on mine. You thought I forgot, didn't you? Thought I wouldn't come back. Rachel's hand hovered near the phone. I'm calling the cops. The man leaned back, raised his hand slowly, mock surrender. Not tonight, he said, but soon. Then he walked out. The police came again, took another report, promised to patrol. Same lines. Probably just some weirdo. I wanted to believe that, until last week. After a late shift, I walked to my car. The lot was empty. My windshield wiper was lifted. Tucked beneath it was a McDonald's receipt. No food items listed. Just 3 words scrawled in shaky block letters. Still waiting. At the top, the order number read, number 147. Story 8. I never thought I'd end up working the night shift at McDonald's. Not after high school. Not after moving to Crestwood, Kentucky, a sleepy town where nothing happened after 10 p.m. My name is Lucas Reynolds, and back in the summer of 2020, I was 23, broke, and desperate. College hadn't worked out. My car was falling apart, rent was overdue, and every other job in town either paid minimum wage or demanded experience I didn't have. Just 3 months, I told myself. 3 months and then I'm out. But of course, life doesn't work that way. The first night was worse than I expected. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me as I wiped the counter for what felt like the 100th time. The fryer hissed behind me, sending the smell of oil and salt into the air. It was quiet. Too quiet. Around 11:15 p.m., the door chimed. I looked up. He was wearing a dark hoodie, cap pulled low, jeans that had seen better days. His hands were tucked into his pockets, and he walked slowly, deliberately, like he wanted me to notice him. Evening, I said, forcing a smile. What can I get you? 1 Big Mac, he said flatly. Large fries. Coke. I punched it into the register. $9.12. He handed me a crumpled 20. His hand brushed mine. cold. Order number 211, I called. He didn't take it immediately. He leaned in, close enough for me to smell cigarette smoke. You charged me wrong, he said. No, sir. Just one Big Mac, I said, holding out the receipt. His lips curled into a strange, almost smile. Don't lie to me. Before I could answer, Jenna, my shift manager, stepped in. Is there a problem? He looked at her but didn't break eye contact with me. He tried to cheat me. Sir, we can fix it, Jenna said firmly. No need to make trouble. He muttered something, grabbed the bag, and left. I exhaled, hoping that would be the end. 2 nights later, around 1 a.m., I was taking out the trash in the alley behind the restaurant. Dim light flickered from the single overhead lamp. The smell of rotting food made me gag. I froze. He was standing there, hoodie up, cap low, just watching. My heart pounded. I gripped the trash bin so hard my knuckles hurt. I backed up slowly, then ran inside. Something wrong? Jenna asked. Nothing, I said, voice shaking. Just thought I saw someone. A few nights later, Maya, the girl on drive-thru, came running in. Lucas, there's a guy at the window. He's asking for you by name. What? My stomach sank. Gray hoodie. Creepy Jenna told me to stay in the back while she went to check. When she returned, her face was pale. He left, but he seemed like he was waiting for you. I couldn't sleep that night. Every sound outside my apartment made me jump. Then it happened. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. 5 seconds of silence. Then a flat, whispering voice. Order number 211, ready for pickup. I dropped my phone. The police didn't take it seriously. Unless he threatens you directly, there's nothing we can do. A week later, near closing, the door chimed. My heart sank. He walked in, hoodie gone, just the cap. Same stillness, same chilling stare. One Big Mac, he said softly, then leaned closer. No, maybe half this time. Jenna stepped forward. Sir, leave now. He didn't. You thought I forgot. You thought I could forget. He left slowly, turning back once. Not tonight, but soon. Last week after a late shift, I walked to my car. Empty lot. My windshield wiper was lifted. Tucked underneath it, a McDonald's receipt. No items listed, just 3 words written in shaky block letters. Still waiting. Order number 211.